Hello everybody and welcome back to the flight deck. We're here at London's Gatwick Airport over at the Boeing factory where we're picking up the second of two airframes that have been converted over to cargo aircraft for our FlyUK Cargo Operations. It's a windy day here, a bit of low cloud over southern England, but we're going to be taking this aircraft from here at London Gatwick up to Stansted to position it to enter service in November. And the sun just came out, and it's time to get her up there and get her checked over and ready to go. So let's hop on board and we will run through everything today. It's a very short flight. We're just basically heading east of London and up to Stansted, so we'll be on board for the entire time. Let's get on board in the cockpit and we'll get set up. Alright, we're on board the aircraft. She's completely shut off, so let's come down here. We'll tell the ground crew to plug in the APU and we'll start getting everything set up. So parking brakes are going to come on. We'll go up to our battery switches. So the battery is going to go on. Standby power is in auto. That's good. We checked that. And emergency lights are now armed. Ground power is connected. We'll turn that on. We now have ground power. We'll turn the position lights to steady. We're going to pop up to our IRSs, left and right, and we'll get them up and aligning. Passenger signs we won't worry about. It is now a cargo aircraft. Electric hydraulic fuel pumps will now both come on. Yaw damper coming online. Window heat, left side and right side, both coming on. And down to the left aft fuel pump, we'll turn that on. And that's going to drive fuel now for our APU, which we will now come down and start. So let's go outside and give that a listen. You hear that wind blowing today? You can hear the APU starting to wind up. We have ignition. And there we go. And there's the converted aircraft, windows covered over, cargo access door, looking very nice. We're going to see this a lot in the future as we fly some cargo operations in Europe. So back on board we go. So we're waiting for the APU light to come on. The APU light is on. Generators are available, so we'll switch on the APU generators 1 and 2. They're now both on. APU bleed can come on. We'll turn the packs to auto. And the isolation valve is open. So we're going to pop down now to the FMC. Sorry, it's that one there. And we'll start getting everything set up here. Aircraft position now going in. We want the second page. We'll take the right GPS today. And we'll pop back over, enter it in. Aircraft now knows where it is. We'll go to our route page. Very short route today. We'll enter it manually. We're at Echo Golf Kilo Kilo. We're heading to Echo Golf Sierra Sierra. And today's flight is UKV 9703. And there we go. Flight plan is now entered in on that page. We'll come over here and enter our waypoints, and basically our waypoint is we're going to the Det VOR, which is the Detling, and it's also the entry point to our arrival into Stansted. So we'll put that in, we'll activate and execute, and there's our route in. So for our departure, we're departing on runway 26 left, no SID. We're just going to go fly to 2,000 feet and make a turn out for the waypoint. We'll come over now to the arrival. We're landing on the ILS runway 22. And we're going to be arriving on the Det to Alpha arrival, and we're going in at Abbott. We'll execute that. So that is all now entered in and ready to go. Oh, I'm just going to start my little calculator for doing the calculations for the takeoff information. And there is a video on the channel that shows the this and how it works and where you can get it if you're flying this aircraft and you're looking for a calculator. It has calculators for a lot of different aircraft, so it gives you a lot of options. So I'm just going to enter in the information. We're at Echo Golf Kilo Kilo, taking off on 26 left, input the weather data, and our weights. Let me just grab our gross weight. Just scrolling through the flight plan here to get it. And sorry, I had to change flight plan format so I could get the information easily. And I am just waiting for that now to come up. Alright, so our gross weight for today's takeoff, which is going to be our takeoff weight, is 43,122. And we will calculate our information. So we're going to go from here. We're going to head up to our initial reference and get our information. So we are 43.1 tons. Our planned fuel for today's flight is 3.7 tons of fuel. Our reserves today are 0.8. It is 800 kilograms, cost index of 25. We're flying at flight level 170. We want 232.48 for our winds. 232 at 48. It is a blustery day here, this fall day, and everything else is good. We'll execute that. We'll go to our N1 limits, and here's where the calculated information will come in. So our cell temp for today is 44 degrees. I know there's no descent path. That's fine. It's such a short flight. We're confusing it a little bit. We want a 24K TO1D rate on the engine power for takeoff. It is going to be a flaps 1. And we'll just quickly enter the weather. Winds are 22 at 15 today. 220 at 15 degrees. Back over to page 1. Our center of gravity is going to be that, and we are looking at 1,300 feet remaining. So it's going to give us a V1 of 115, a VR of 117, and a V2 of 128. So that information is now all entered in. We're going to look over here to Roger's side. Let me just redo that view and I'll just scooch over. Payload is 0, empty aircraft. But for fuel, we're going to put the fuel amount in here of 3716. That point, 3716, and that gives us our fuel for the flight. So Roger is going to sit on the route page, and he is good there. Kill the caution. Alright, the FMCs are all set up. Now we can do our warning cautions and checklists for that. So we'll go up overhead. Mach speed warning. Both sides are good. Stall horns and stick shakers. Very good. Come back down here to the center. We'll do our in-op test. There's our caution. That is good. And we will do our fire systems test. Engine 1, Engine 2, and APU are all up, and everything is looking good there. And system test.
Glide slope. Pull up. Wind shear. Wind shear. Wind shear. Terrain. Terrain. Pull up. Airspeed low. Airspeed low.
So while that was doing that, I set the transponder code to 2000. Current barometer is 1013. And that is what we already have set, so we're good there. Transponder is set, fueling, boarding, and loading is complete. Our takeoff data is set. Cruising altitude is going to be 170, and landing altitude is 250 feet. So that is all set. MCP will come down here and set that up. So we are looking at a runway heading for takeoff of 258 degrees. So we'll dial that around. We're also going to put our cruise altitude. We're not going to be stepping up to it, so we're going to go right to 1700. There we go. And our speed here is going to be V2 plus 20, so that's 128 plus 20, 148 in the speed window. There we go. And that is now set. And the MTP is done. MCP is done. Sorry. Flight directors are coming on. Radios, not that we're going to be using them, but I'm going to set that to 122.8. Radios are set. So we're going to quickly pop back over to Roger's side, over to ground services. We're going to close the doors. And we are up on the APU for power, so we can release the ground power, and we're going to have them remove the chocks. And he is back on the legs page. One final thing here, we are going to go to data, terrain, and traffic on our display, and we're going to center Rogers, turn on traffic, and adjust him to 40 miles up front and back, so he's 20 on either side. Gives us a close-in view of traffic around us if we need it, and on our side we'll have train and everything there. So doors are closed, ground equipment is clear, chocks are removed, we can get ready for push and start. So we're going to throw the anti-collision light on. Let's pop outside, and we'll give the tug its directions. So we're going to be pushing back to the yellow line there, and get ready to taxi. It'll be a fairly quick taxi out to the takeoff point. Let's just see where our line is. So just make a slight adjustment. There we go. That looks pretty good right there. Let's call the tug.
Cockpit to ground. Go ahead, flight deck. We will be ready shortly.
Roger.
Alright, so as the tug comes in, we'll get the rest of our stuff ready to go. There he is. So we have no fuel in the center tanks, we don't have to worry about that, but we are going to turn on the other main fuel pumps. We're going to come up to the packs, turn them off so the bleed air is available for engine start. Ignition mode selector is set to both, so that is ready to go. And we should be good for push. He's in place. He is now.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Alright. Parking brakes are
Parking
released.
brakes released.
Pushing back.
So we're here at Origami's Gatwick. A little bit easier on the frames than the freeware off FlightSim.to. That one got a little too detailed for me.
You're cleared behind and you start your engines at your discretion.
Causing stutters. This one does too, but not as bad. Alright, we're good for engine start. So coming up to the engine start switches, engine 2 over to ground start. Then we're going to wait for that to come up and read 2.0. And the last 0.5 spins fairly quickly. There we go, adding fuel. You can see the start valve is open, and we can monitor the engines down here. Fuel flow is showing, N2 is spinning. You can see some of the temperatures and pressures starting to come up. And around 18, we'll hear the ground start click off, and we are good to start the other engine. If we look up, we can actually see it do it. There she goes, starting engine 1.
Pushback complete. Set parking brakes, please.
Adding fuel, and brakes
Parking
are set.
brakes set.
Roger. Okay, the tow bar is disconnected and the equipment is clear.
Thanks, and you can disconnect and go to hand signals.
Thanks. Have a good flight. See you later.
Engine 1 is starting. While it's doing that, I'm going to turn up the interior lights. It just lets you see everything a little bit better. There we go. We'll come down to the bottom panel. There's the engine cutout. We'll let the engine stabilize, and we'll just do the top one here. There we are. Go about halfway, and it just illuminates the buttons and the keys. Just makes everything a lot nicer. So there we go. Engine 1 and 2, good start on both. So the engine generators 1 and 2 can come on. Both of them are on. Engine 1 and 2 start switches will go to continuous for takeoff. Probe heats will come on, both sides. Engine anti-ice not required today. Main engine bleeds are now on. Packs can go to auto. Circulation fans can go to auto. Isolation valve will go to auto. APU bleed will now come off. APU can be shut off. We'll come down here. Flaps 1 for takeoff. We can see on our screen, FMS screen. So we're going to go flaps 1 on the selector. And we have flaps in transit. Elevator trim. It wants 4.15. So we're just going to bring the trim just above 4. There we go. And flaps are now 1 and indicating. Flight controls over to the systems page. Full left, full right, neutral, full forward, full back, neutral, full left rudder, full right rudder, neutral. Engine instrument check. Everything is looking good and where it should be, and we'll move those numbers up here onto the main screen. We're going to arm our MCP. Can't do LNAV since we're not flying off on a SID, but we will do VNAV, level change, and heading select. Auto throttle is now coming online, and warning recall is clear. Taxi light will go on. Auto brake will go on to RTO, and we are good to taxi. We'll see you down at the runway. And here we are at the hold point. So we'll come in, we will put on the brakes, and we'll do our pre-departure check. So fuel flow is good for both engines. V-speeds are checked. And set MCP, nav data, and radios are all checked. We have takeoff clearance. So landing lights are going to come on, runway turnoff lights are going to come on, taxi light is going off. Transponder will come on. Let's get that on. There we go. And we're going to turn my side down to 10. And we are good to taxi out. Approach path is clear. Brakes released. Let's move into position. So again, we're going to fly straight ahead forward, and when we hit 2,000 feet, we will begin our turn. It's going to be a right-hand turn. We'll circle back around, and then we're going to fly out to the Det VOR. We'll be making a left turn at that point and beginning our arrival. We're probably going to be slightly high to intercept the ILS, so I think we're going to do one turn on the hold and drop our altitude down to something a little bit easier to slide in and capture the ILS. I think that's 2,500 feet for the ILS there. Alright, so getting ourselves lined up. Runway is correctly identified. We are on 26 left. The aircraft straighten out and bring her to a stop. Clock is now running and we are good to go. So, engine's coming up to 40%. Engines are up and stable. Brakes are released. Aircraft is rolling and toga.
Airspeed's alive.
A little bit of a push from that wind that's going on out there. It is sort of strong. You can see the windsock there.
Rotate.
And a very short roll as we are extremely light.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Holding against that wind. Not turning yet. Just maintaining that climb. And we're very light, so we're climbing like a bit of a rocket ship here. There's 2,000 feet. Command A autopilot is now on. LNAV is now on. So we are through positive rate. Gear is up, autopilot is on, auto brake coming off, gear lever coming off, engine start switches off, runway turnoff lights are now off, and we are through flap retraction speed, so flaps are now coming up. Cabin pressurization is all set. See, we're accelerating 250 knots. And we're working our way around that curve. And there's where we're headed. It's all within quick distance of us here. Alright, we are through transition altitude. So over to standard pressure. Continue to make that turn. Looking good. Like, it's very unusual being this light. There is 10,000 feet, so the landing lights will come off. Oop, no, I want. Where is it? There it is. Landing lights are off. Cabin is going to start pressurizing soon. That is fine. We're just going to monitor our climb to 17,000 feet. It's 3,000 to go. And we have a lot of stuff we got to do to get ready for top of descent. Once we level off, it'll be good to start in on all that. Nice day, bit of cloud, very windy. And fairly warm. It's 18 degrees there on the ground. Just leveling off. There we go at 17,000 feet. Right, descent preparations, weather. Current weather at Stansted. Winds are 220 at 18 knots, so it should be pretty much straight down the runway. Not a lot of clouds in the area. I'm just saying no clouds detected. 18 degrees, QNH 1012. So we'll set the QNH and our standby ready to go. Arrival data. We can come down here now. Go to our approach information. We're going to be landing at flaps 30, so we'll select that and enter that in. That gives us our reference speed of 120, our approach speed 125, ref speed of 120, which is our landing speed. Landing altitude is set 250 knots. Cabin is slowly depressurizing. We are good. Radios are set. ILS frequency and course. So we are going to be landing on the ILS for runway 22. So that is going to require a frequency of 110.5, which is actually the default when you log into the aircraft. And that is set on both sides, 110.5. We're going to set our course, which is 222 degrees. We'll set that up on both sides as well. There's on one. And there is on two. And our platform altitude of 2,500. We're actually going to set an altitude of 4,000 because we're going to do that hold for that one run just to get our altitude down, because we come in at 8,000 and it is a bit of a work to descend down and get all the way there. So that is now entered in. Anti-ice is not going to be required. Warning recall checked. Everything is good there. Fuel is checked. MCP is all set. Altimeters, we have the information in. Minimums for the runway on a Cat 1 today is going to be 548 feet. So we'll make sure that is set to barrow, and we'll set 548. See, we're already starting down. A lot of stuff happening very quickly. 548 feet on the minimums are set. Missed approach altitude, climb straight ahead, not to above 3,000 feet at 3.1. Right, so we're going to switch this radio over. We're going to put in the missed approach one, so that is 116.25. So nav one will stay the ILS. This is our where we got to go if we have a missed approach, and then we want to set it radio 173. So we fly straight ahead until we intercept this radial, and at that point we turn towards the BKY VOR at 3,000 feet and then fly as directed. Probably at that point we would do a manual vectors to the approach. So that is now entered in. You can see the green line there. There's the BKY VOR with that line. So if we come in and we miss and we have to go around, we just keep flying that way until we intercept and it's a right turn. Auto brakes, we're going to use auto brakes 2. And we're descending down now towards transition. London is off in this direction, under the clouds there. I believe that's the Thames we're flying over right at the moment. It is. So London's out over that way. We're flying well, we're going to be passing to the east of Chatham and Gillingham. So that's where we are located right now. Of course, Gatwick is south of London and Stansted is northeast, so we're kind of skipping around to the north there. So we're slowly descending down. This is going to be our 10,000 foot deceleration. And at Lawful we slow down to 250 knots. Abbott it wants us at 8,000, and that's the issue. It's rather close to the airport, so it's hard to push down from there. So we're going to enter into the hold, and as we head out and do one of the legs, we'll continue to descend down. So when we come out of Abbott, we'll be down at 4,000 feet, and then we'll descend down to 2,500 after that. So our depressurization system is working, and that's all good. Our landing altitude is set 250 feet, and everything else is currently looking good. Just 12,000 feet. You see the winds, we're getting a good push at 50 knots off the left quarter there. And we are on our descent path. We have the indicators here for our lateral navigation and our vertical navigation, and it shows us on track right on the glide path over on the nav display as well. There's also some terrain starting to come in. We've got higher ground off to this side, but it is on the most of it's north of our path, so we don't have to worry too much. Now we're just monitoring our descent. Like I said, it's a short flight, so we're going to stick with it. We're not going to do any cuts. And we'll do the whole thing from one end to the other. But yeah, beautiful fall day. Harvest should all be in. And getting ready for the winter. A lot of farms in UK put on a winter crop, like either alfalfa or radishes or stuff like that. Cover crop. Help with the soil. You can plow it under when you plant, and that becomes fertilizer. A little bit of a wiggle there in the wind. That becomes fertilizer for the next crop. Okay, we're getting an FMC message there. Was flashing for a second. We're slowing down to 240. We're below 10,000 feet. So cabin pressure is checked and everything is good. Landing lights are going to come on. Runway turnoff lights will come on. Seatbelt signs, cabin lights not required. Again, me and Roger are the only people on board the aircraft. So nav course and speed are checked. Our V speeds are checked. We have a reference of 120 and an approach speed of 125. Just slowing down now. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up, we're going to fly this part of the hole, and then we will come out from here and fly straight to CF22 for the intercept. And that should give us time to get down to the altitude we need. We also have speed restrictions at Abbott of 220 knots. We can see flight level 800, and then over here in the magenta, you can see 220 knots. I'm not sure why it's putting us into the hole. That's not something I've asked it to do. It's just doing it automatically. I think it might be because it knows we're too high when we come down this way. We will see. So you can see our speed is slowing down. It's slowly edging us down to 220 knots. There's our 8,000 feet. And we're now heading into the hold. Clear that message. Alright. So it wants us to hold at 4,000, but we're actually going to go into vertical speed mode, and we will manually take ourselves down to 4,000 feet. As we fly along the hold, maintaining that roughly 220 knots. And while we do that, we are going to go to flaps 5, because we can drop down. It'll add some drag and prevent us from speeding up too much as we descend. So moving to flaps 5, we'll go flaps 1, speed checked. The slats coming out. Okay, the engine's moving up to deal with the drag. Keep us at speed. Flaps 2. And flaps 5. So that has us nicely coming down. So we're through 7,000 feet. So engines are working a little bit. We're going to increase our descent rate to 1,500 feet as we go into the next turn. See the trees have turned a beautiful fall colors down there. So we are being dropped out, and everything is looking good. Into the cloud now. 1,000 to go. So we're going to be leveling off here at 4,000 feet. So just coming around on the final bit of the turn. Alright, we are picking up the glide slope and we are picking up the, well, reading the localizer. Alright, so now that we've come around, we're going to go direct to that point. Put in our V nav. We're going to hold our speed at 200. Vertical speed mode, start us down. We're going to head down to 2,500 feet. Yeah. We're going to do it gently. Slowly bringing in our range so we can see where we are. See, we're going to make it down well before that point, which is what we want. And again, we're going to be landing on runway 22. ISX is the identifier, and that is correct. So we should be down to 2,500 just before that point. So we will arm approach mode. Make sure that they are set up and ready to go. So approach mode is arm glide slope is technically alive. We're not going to gear and flaps as of yet. Although at 200 knots we can go to flaps 10. So speed check, flaps 10. Engines are going to go to continuous start mode in case we have a flame out. It's 500 feet to go. I'll bring the speed down to 180. Can't go below flaps 10 or else the gear horn goes off. The airplanes slow down a little bit as we come down to 2500.
2500.
And everything is looking good. Airport is off in the cloud there. That was my phone going off. So we're leveling off at 2500. We're ready to intercept the localizer. Glide slope is showing. Speed of 180 knots. Gear is up. As soon as we make the turn, we can drop gear and bring our speed to about 165. There's the turn for the localizer. There's the airport. There's us coming around. I don't see the runway yet, but we got to see the hangars. I believe the runway is right around there. Alright. That wind we're working with here. So the gear is down to 1 dot above, or the glide slope, so gear down. Speed's going to come back to 165. Gear down 3 green, flaps 15. We're 5 miles out, and 4 miles is slow to our reference speed of 125. And flaps 25. There's 4 miles coming up, so speed down to 125. And flaps full for landing, or sorry, flaps 30 for landing. There we go. So flaps are set, gear down 3 green, lights are on, cabin notified, recall good, and no cautions. And we are set up and configured, 1,000 feet to go.
1000.
She's going to bob around a little bit just because she's so light, and the winds are pretty much straight down the nose. 500 feet. Aircraft is mine. Slightly high. Since I can see the runway, I'm going visually now.
Approaching minimums. Minimums.
Landing.
$100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
Reverser's on, auto brake on. It's 80 knots. $70 knots, reverser's off. Auto brake disengaged. We'll exit down here at Lima Romeo, I believe it is. There we go. Welcome to Stansted. Bring the flaps up, speed brakes disarmed. Landing lights retracted, they're off, taxi light on. We're gonna go down here to Juliet. This is, for some reason the runway here is rather bumpy, or this taxiway is rather bumpy, so we're going to avoid that one and head down here to Juliet. See, there's a little bit of a bump there. We're going to turn the transponder off. And once we get around the corner, we will fire up the APU. I don't know why when they built the airport they left the terrain so uneven. Alright, so we turn the APU on. Although they should have a ground power unit for us up here when we get there. Go by the Ryanair hangar here, and I will see you when we arrive. turning in here at number 4. Get ourselves lined up. Not the best turn there. Kind of overshot slightly, but we made it in the end. And here we are. Alright, so we'll come down, we'll request our chocks be put in place, and our GPU is set up. We're currently on the engine generators. Ground power is now available, so we'll switch over. And we can shut down the engines now. We are going to turn off our taxi light first. Fuel control levers will go to the off position. APU will go off. Anti-collision light will come off. We'll leave the light there on. Ground equipment is all good. Everything is there, and the ground power unit is connected. Fuel pumps will now all go off. Isolation valve will go to open, and flight directors, that's not it, that's the one, will go off. So here we are, London Stansted, and they'll do their inspections and get it ready to go on the line for cargo operations. Thank you all very much for flying along with us. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the air. Bye for now.